All right, I wanted to make this quick follow-up video because here's the thing, guys. You gotta go easy on me a little bit. When I start making these videos, I don't have a script, I don't have an agenda. I just have a kind of broad topic that I want to talk about. I turn the camera on and then I start just spitballing it. I start just sending it. I'm sending it, baby. Yeah. So sometimes when I start the video and where I end up rambling to, I don't always get exactly what I wanted to say and meant to say across. And sometimes, as I can tell in the comments below, that's very evident. So I wanted to do this follow-up video to the last video I made about institutional ownership. I'll link it right here. If you're going to comment on this video, please do me the favor of going to watch that video first so you understand the context of this video. So basically the follow-up is essentially I am not that worried about this new development of how big the institutional ownership position is. It was originally believed and was floating around. I don't think it originally was sent out as FUD, but some people I think are using it as FUD, that the institutional ownership was 54%. It's been debunked. It was an honest mistake. I believe the source of it. I believe it was an honest mistake because I very much respect the source. The source is Jeff Forbes, apparently. I don't think that guy is FUD at all. I don't think he's a shill at all. He's just a smart fucking dude. I highly respect him, and he's real talk. He doesn't get caught up in any of this YouTube drama shit that we're seeing in our community. So anyways, I think it was an honest mistake. It was debunked. Tony De Niro put out a very solid video just basically showing that, hey, you know what, here's the numbers. It doesn't quite add up. Now, it is a large number. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Yes, it's a very large number, and they have taken quite a bit of control from us. But ultimately, like in that previous video that I asked you to watch earlier, I linked up to earlier, it kind of, I guess, watching the video back, I kind of trailed off to the point where it maybe did look like I was concerned. For the record, I am not concerned. I am not worried. Yes, I am being very honest with you. I do think it changes the dynamics a little bit because they do own a large block. 35-ish, almost 35% is almost 180 million shares of the float as reported. We don't know the actual float. We know it is almost 514 million shares, but with all the synthetics, we don't know how big this thing actually is, and we don't know how much of those synthetics the retail side has bought up. You know, again, I know I talk about Lou, and I'm not doing that to clout chase, but I think Lou is right in saying this because a lot of people started getting on board. Not all of us were OGs. I was an OG. I started buying back in January 2021, and I'm not saying that to brag or whatever. I'm just stating my position and in full transparency of when and how I came into this play. But a lot of attention was brought onto this thing, and a lot of people started buying that whole March to kind of May, June era, which is when it was believed a lot of synthetics were created. So it's possible retail does own a much bigger position than we think. But it does not change the fact that institutional now has a big block. They have a big chunk of shares. So all I'm really trying to say, I guess, is it doesn't worry me to the sense where I don't think this is going to squeeze. I don't think it's a possibility. My conviction is still 100% strong in my heart and my soul about this being a setup for a short squeeze. Nothing's guaranteed. However, the setup looks very good. I just think it changes things a little bit, and we need to keep our heads on a swivel, right? We need to keep our minds in this game. We can't check out yet. We can't get complacent, especially with this now very large institutional ownership. It means that we need to stay with our heads in the game and keep our emotions in check even more now, because they do own, as the filings show, they do own a very large block now, a block that could potentially give quite a bit back to the shorts and the hedge funds that are shorting this stock. So the other thing I think it's going to change is, I mean, every short squeeze is going to have bag holders. It is inevitable. Call me FUD, call me whatever you want, but that is an absolute fact because there is just not enough. It's like playing a game of musical chairs, right? At the end of basically the concept of the game, if you remember from your younger days, is there's only so many chairs to sit down on, and when the music stops, you better find a chair, or guess what? You're left standing. Essentially left holding the bag. So with institutional owning the large chunk they do own now, well, I think it's going to potentially I shouldn't say potentially, because that's not what I fully believe. I think it does increase the risk of retail holding the bag even more now because of how big their chunk and their block is. It's going to, you know, if we've given some of the power away. We had this shit cornered, essentially. Now we don't have it quite as cornered as we initially thought or did in past months and last year. So it's going to leave, unfortunately, it's going to leave more retail investors holding the bag than initially there was going to be, because before it was basically all of us. It was all retail, all the apes holding, or sorry, not holding, but owning the float. Now there's a large chunk of institutional owning the float, which is going to leave some apes without a seat. You know, the whole musical chairs reference. Because, if you don't think that these institutions are going to use their position to, you know, get themselves a 100, 200, 300, 400% return, you're absolutely crazy, and you need to really investigate why you think that. Institutional investors are very conservative in nature, and they represent big, huge, large things like, you know, the California teachers pension, the Florida teachers, like they're representing millions of people and their retirements. And yeah, they've fucked up in the past, and they've, like 2008, perfect example, they fucking lost a lot of those teachers pensions fund money. But at the end of the day, they have a mandate that they are investing on. It's an investment policy statement, basically, and they are very conservative in nature. So if they see 100, 200, 300% return, they're gonna check out. They're gonna sell their shares, and they're gonna let some of these shorts cover. So that's all I'm saying is, I don't think it doesn't, you know, the short squeeze play is not dead by any means, like some fudders are out there saying, but it does change the dynamics a bit. And we need to keep our heads on a swivel now. And I mean, if you don't have price alerts already set up, then you're crazy. You should have those things set up, because if and when this thing starts to rip, these institutions owning as much as they do own, we could see some covering very quickly and in those low hundreds. I know I've been very critical on loose brackets, but this does change anything. When I made that video, I'll link it right here if you want to see it, just to keep me accountable. But when I made that video versus today, things are constantly changing. You know what? Things do change. This is a very dynamic situation, and these institutions could cover in the low 100s, which could affect essentially what your numbers and your brackets are, right? All the diamond hands who are holding to 5, 10, 25,000, 100,000. Like I said, not worried. I don't think it changes anything. Absolutely, very much still within my heart and my soul, I believe this short squeeze play is on the table. But these institutions having some power now does change the dynamics. So as always, we have to stay smart, we have to stay educated, and we have to look at things as they are, not as we wish them to be. Not trying to be FUD, just guys, you can't look at everything with rose-colored glasses. You got to look at things as they are, not as you wish them to be. That's it. See you in the next video. Peace.